Bottom on bottom crime is happening right in front of our salads and we can only sit and watch helplessly. Also, Mile literally betrayed us with that pool scene information, but I know it's coming in episode 10. Hello lovelies, this is BL Fan Edits and another episode of KinnPorsche is over and done with. If this episode made you feel sad or you have some negative opinions about it, then it just means that the episode was actually quite good because the directors were able to successfully convey what they wanted to by bringing out so many different emotions and points of views from us. Also, if you're blaming only Kinn for locking up Porsche in the end and don't see how problematic Porsche's behavior was, then you are definitely biased and you need to watch this video to see why. So as always, let's begin with the recap of episode 9 first and then I will move on to the episode 10 spoilers. In the opening scene, we see that Tavan has been locked up in a cell and is questioned by Kinn. When Tavan said, "It's been a long time, Kinn," we saw in the previews that Kinn shows an expression of longing. But it's clear in that scene that Kinn doesn't have any kind of feeling left for Tavan except for pure hatred. Porsche also looked at Kinn to see what reply he would give to Tavan's statement, but to his relief, Kinn just shows anger and no lingering feelings for Tavan. Tavan said that the Italians had kept him hostage and threatened to kill his family if he doesn't sell the main family's information to them. His intentions are not at all believable to me. I feel like Tavan is still working for the Italians and while he is in the process of gaining Kinn's attention again, he will try to sabotage Porsche and Kinn's relationship. In my opinion, Kinn does not deserve to be a mafia boss or Porsche's boyfriend if he trusts Tavan again or believe any word he says. Tavan is supposedly poisoned, which I think is all Tavan's plan to make Kinn believe that he's telling the truth and the Italians are indeed after his life. Tana-kun, Kinn and Kun-kon are having a meeting to decide if they should keep or kill Tavan. Guys, I feel like in this episode our eccentric brother Tana-kun was the only voice of reason. He repeatedly kept warning Kinn to not trust Tavan and Kinn would be the ultimate fool to not listen to his words and believe a guy who has betrayed him. Unless of course he's playing the long game and it's all part of his plan. Also, why is Kinn looking so effing hot while speaking to his father and brother? Like, please stop being so deathly handsome all the damn time. Porsche is not even there. You don't need to be this extra sexy while talking to your father. As they were having the meeting, Big the sus bodyguard comes in and says that Tavan can't be trusted. Although I agree to what Big said, I'm more concerned that Big is the actual mole and by showing concern he's trying to avoid suspicion. He's also jealous that Tavan is back so he could try to get together with Kinn again. Tavan is telling Porsche how easy it is to read this family. He gives a play-by-play of what's happening in the meeting right now. This is actually so scary that Tavan knows these people inside out. Tavan also implied that if Kinn decides to let him stay, it's because he's still not over Tavan and not because he wants information about the Italians. I think this very statement made by Tavan was the start of Porsche's insecurity towards his and Kinn's relationship. The fact that Tavan knows so much about Kinn is making him nervous, and just when Tavan said that Kinn might keep him because of his heart, Kinn comes in and confirms that Tavan will in fact be staying under their protection, sealing the deal when it comes to Porsche's insecurity. Kim is in his room trying to make music but his mind is elsewhere. He keeps thinking about Jay and the love song he wrote for him. Kim's smile is so cute when he's thinking about that beautiful song and the adorable Jay lifting one of his legs to rest his guitar and singing that song with all his heart. Kim has fallen for Jay, but he's not the type to confess his feelings and will keep his feelings hidden until Jay confesses to him. Arm, Paul and Pete are discussing about the re-entry of Tavan when Kinn interrupts them and orders Pete to follow Vegas and find out if there is something wrong. Pete insists that he shouldn't be the one to follow Vegas as he caught last time. But Kinn says that Pete is the bodyguard he trusts the most, so he can be the only one following Vegas. Pete is scared of tailing Vegas because whenever Vegas catches him, he exudes this sexy dom energy that terrifies Pete and attracts him at the same time. He flusters when he's in a very close proximity of Vegas and he can never predict Vegas's next move, which makes him nervous. Porsche is guarding Tavan's room and he brings Tavan his breakfast. Tavan is sitting there cutting up the sleeves of his t-shirt. Tavan's wicked mind games are in full swing and he's purposefully doing that to show Porsche that his intention is to lure Kin back to him. Porsche appears nonchalant but his jealousy is raging inside and he also doesn't trust Tavan and his intentions. I hate the next scene so much I could literally puke. This black-hearted sexy monster of a man purposefully tries to engage Kin in a pointless convo, trying to show Porsche that Kin still remembers their time spent together. Porsche is still really patient with Kin and Tavan. If it was me witnessing this conversation between my man and his ex, I would have thrown the phone out of the window and smashed both of their heads together until one of them started to bleed. Preferably my man, because if he has the audacity to engage and giggle with his ex right in front of my chicken curry, then he better not live. Just die. But here Kin is a mafia boss and also Porsche's boss, not just his boyfriend. So Porsche has to tread carefully and not let his jealous rage take over, like me. Also, the way Tavan keeps addressing himself in third person and calls himself Tavan gives off pick-me energy and makes my blood boil. Although looking at his cute dimples and sexy body, I calm myself down and resist the urge to smash my TV screen. Kin letting Tavan hold his hand was the last straw for me. Kin, if this isn't a part of your plan, then you are definitely the dumbest effing mafia I've ever seen in my entire Fujoshi existence. Porsche has to unfortunately interrupt their frolicking and remind Kin that his current lover is standing right there and to show some damn respect. The only voice of reason, Thana-kun, is watching Tavan thrusting and effing the air on CCTV. We all know these are Tavan's cheap tactics to attract Kin. But Kin has not an ounce of interest left in Tavan. Thana-kun warns Kin that if he keeps this guy around then he will get hurt again and he should think about his loved ones, aka Porsche, first before doing anything. This line caught Kin's attention. I feel like Kin here is thinking that he will have to hurt Porsche temporarily in order to find out the truth behind Tavan's comeback and second family's involvement, and Kin can't protect Porsche from what's coming next. But we still can't be sure if this is really a part of a plan or Kin is genuinely trusting what Tavan says. Porsche visits his friend Piyok at her bar. As soon as Yok looks at Porsche, she can immediately tell that something is bothering him. His eyes are sad and he's feeling down about something. Yok guesses that Porsche's sadness is something to do with a third person. Porsche slightly nods and hints that he could flirt with someone else to make Kin jealous. In the novel, this is exactly what Porsche does. He goes away with Vegas to make Porsche jealous and it turned into a huge disaster. I'm glad that the series hints to that and points out that this approach is very outdated and leads to the end of relationships. Yok suggests another way of bringing back Kin's attention to Porsche. Next, we see Porsche getting ready to execute Yok's plan. I think swinging your hips to good music is the best way to prepare for fornication. It releases endorphins and gets your creative juices flowing. As Porsche is preparing his bussy, Kin enters the room. First of all, Kin is looking fine as hell here. Those beefcakes are sparkling like diamonds in that light. Porsche is acting like he's unwell. Kin is instantly worried about him. According to instructions, Porsche has to pretend to be weak in front of Kin, so he asks Kin to wipe his body with a towel. Kin is so worried for Porsche that he doesn't even notice that Porsche is playing with him and already prepared the towel and water for him and is undressed from waist down. The sounds Porsche is making are definitely doing their magic on Kin and it's making him more and more excited. Porsche launches his final attack on Kin and Kin completely loses the battle. As soon as the game of Monopoly begins, Pete enters the room drunk out of his mind. As soon as Pete enters, he behaves like every newbie K-pop and K-drama fan in history. 2012 was a hard time for me. After watching Boys Over Flowers, I had an existential crisis because I thought I was born in the wrong country. I would force my poor mom to make kimchi and ramyeon and speak to her like she's my Korean girlfriend. Come on, hey, Shincha? Hey, Shakya. Yeah, dark times. This whole moment reminded me of Than Type, when poor Techno's innocence was lost when Than and Type decided to drum it out while he was sleeping. This was basically same. No shame in their game, I see, which should always be the case in every situation. Then we see Tavan and Porsche come out of their rooms for a midnight glass of milk. The tension between these two is so high that the only thing left for them is to kiss. Porsche did not speak to Tavan during the entire episode. This is how you handle your enemy with class. Porsche licks his spoon and drops it in Tavan's glass to show him who is the new queen of the house and that Tavan will always remain beneath him. Vegas and Pete fans rejoice because their story has officially started. Pete follows Vegas to a temple and as always gets caught by brother-in-law Macau. This is Pete trying to hide from Vegas. As Macau and Pete are talking, Vegas comes from behind and startles Pete by placing a heavy hand on his shoulders. Do you notice when Macau and Pete are talking, Vegas keeps staring hard at Pete with those piercing eyes. Vegas and Macau force Pete to attend the monk's sermon with them. If you're not a Vegas stan until now, it's time you become one, because look at the beauty of this man. It's almost haunting and dark, but pristine and innocent at the same time. His duality is actually insane. Pete is confused looking at this new side of Vegas. The last time he saw him, Vegas was pulling out a man's ear bone, and right now he's sitting here listening devotedly to the sermon. Pete asks Vegas if he likes listening to sermons. Pete himself is a devotee, and generally people his age are not into very spiritual activities like this. So it's amusing to Pete that a person like Vegas could have this similarity with him. Vegas replies that listening to sermons makes his mind peaceful and calm. Vegas has always been truthful with Pete since the beginning. Somehow he never felt like putting up a facade in front of Pete. So his reply was honest from the heart. Vegas's mind is a dark place. It's always in chaos and he hates the clattering voices of his head. Maybe listening to sermons and visiting the temple brings some calmness to his chaotic mind. To make merit, they have to pour water from the jug into the pot. Usually in India and Thailand, when you make merit or make an offering together, you can put a finger or hand on the person who is making the offering to include your contribution in it. Vegas offers to make merit together with Pete and lays his entire hand on Pete's back, which is very odd and not something we normally do. He definitely wanted to touch Pete in a different way, and Pete also felt the strangeness of that gesture. I think Pete was slightly aroused and slightly terrified of this action. Pete has always had masochist tendencies, but he has not explored this side of himself yet. Right now, what Pete feels for Vegas is a mixture of excitement and fear. Vegas' hand moves from Pete's back to his peach, which makes Pete uncomfortable. He adjusts himself so that Vegas removes his hand from there. Vegas asks Pete to bring some more water for him, and when Pete returns, he was gone. He left a note for him that said, "Don't forget to make merits together again so we see each other more often in next life." I think this is foreshadowing. Vegas could die in the series as the producers told us that important characters will die. Vegas and Pete end up together in the novel, but it somehow looks less likely in the series. You guys have to be ready with me to go to Thailand and burn the offices of Beyond Cloud if they kill Vegas' character. Porsche stupidly installs a listening device in Tavan's bedroom. I think this is extremely problematic behavior on Porsche's part. He lets the jealousy get the best of him. Instead of communicating his insecurities to his boyfriend, he took this route, which is not only dangerous for him, but incredibly unethical too. Even if Porsche didn't trust Tavan and installed the device to find out the truth behind his comeback, he has no right to do that without the knowledge of his boss. He didn't consider that if Kinn, who is already so suspicious of everyone around him, gets to know about this, how will he react? Will he feel that his trust has been broken? He didn't consider any of that. It's just childish and immature behavior on Porsche's part. I think he takes his enemy too lightly. He doesn't realize who he is dealing with. Also, why is Tavan so damn hot? He's distracting me from hating him. I'm falling in love with his dimples. I'm falling in love with his body and his Shah Rukh Khan nose. I don't want to, but if he keeps appearing shirtless in front of us, it will be hard not to simp for him. Kinn enters Tavan's bathroom to ask him about the information he was supposed to give about the Italians. Excuse me? Why is this man always in the shower or in a bath? I think he has to constantly wash away his dreadful sins. Tavan puts a condition before Kinn that only him and Kinn can go to collect the device that has all the information about the Italians. In what world does Tavan think he has the bargaining power to negotiate his terms with the mafia boss Kinn? Of course, in Kinn's dumb world. This guy is someone you shot before. He comes back because his life is in danger. You give him protection. Shouldn't that be enough for him? He still has the audacity to put conditions before you, and you accept them like a fool that you are. I'm sorry, Kinn, you're actually the dumbest mafia I've ever seen in my life. Vegas should actually be the mafia boss. He has successfully completed a mission. He's shrewd, and he wouldn't let a guy like Tavan walk all over him. Porsche hears this conversation and naturally he's upset about it. He decides to go to the pool to calm his mind and sits in a meditative position at the bottom of the pool. I think this scene is absolutely beautiful. It portrays the inner turmoil Porsche is going through and the calming effect the water has on him. When he comes out of the water, Vegas is there to talk to him and offers him a drink. This is where I think Porsche is in the wrong again. Would you ever talk to a guy who tried to assault you? I would die before I even see the face of a guy who tried to do that to me. But Porsche doesn't even show an ounce of anger here. He smiles at Vegas and accepts the drink from him. Kinn has repeatedly expressed to Porsche that the second family is shady, they can't be trusted, and that Porsche should stay away from them. But Porsche doesn't respect Kinn enough to listen to his insecurities about Vegas. It's just sad because I know subconsciously he's trying to make Kinn jealous by talking to Vegas and secretly hoping that Kinn sees them together. It's just toxic behavior to the core. Vegas apologizes to Porsche about that day and tells him that Kinn has sent Pete to follow him. He says that every time something happens, the main family always suspects the second family first. He's trying to gain sympathy from Porsche. Vegas also says that if one day Kinn asks Porsche to kill Vegas, could he not make him suffer? I felt very unhappy listening to this particular line because this is one of the iconic lines that Vegas says to Pete in the novel. He says that if one day my time comes, I want you, Pete, to be the one to kill me. This is such a raw and vulnerable statement that professes the love Vegas has for Pete, and they decided to include that line in this conversation between Porsche and Vegas. I kind of feel robbed and upset that now I'm not sure how deep they will show Vegas and Pete's relationship in this drama. Kinn is standing there listening to all of this, which obviously irks him and makes him a little suspicious of Porsche's behavior. The next day, Kinn and Tavan go to collect evidence at Tavan's old house. Tavan finds the device hiding under Kinn's jewels. One question for you, Kinn. Aren't you a committed man? Is it so hard for you to move aside while he's trying his tricks on you? You know he's your ex-boyfriend and he's trying to get back together with you. So why are you not moving when he's all up in your business? This is very sus behavior, Kinn, and I won't stand for it. Both Kinn and Porsche are behaving extra shady this whole episode, and I blame both of them equally for what happens in the end. After Kinn and Tavan are done collecting the evidence, they open the door to go out, and guess who is standing there listening to everything? Our very own jealous boy Porsche. Kinn also finds out that Porsche installed listening device in Tavan's room, making him look even more sus than before. Kinn orders Porsche to be locked up in a cell and says that he trusts no one. Porsche is looking at Kinn with sadness in his eyes. He's trying to tell Kinn that you've got it all wrong. I'm not the mole, I'm your lover, I'm your boyfriend. I love you too much and it made me a little jealous. I'm sorry, but I would never do anything to betray you. I'm not sure what Kinn is thinking right now. Either this is all part of a big plan he has, or he genuinely feels betrayed by Porsche. We also see the most beautiful moment of this entire episode. Che finally confesses to Kim about his feelings. I think this is the most adorable confession I've ever seen. Kim melts as soon as he hears the confession and he can't keep his feelings hidden anymore. Kim kisses his cheeks to let him know that he also shares the same feelings as Che. I think they couldn't include a kissing scene here because Barcode was still a minor when they filmed this series, but I think a cheek kiss and a tight hug were able to convey their deep feelings for each other. Porsche is locked up in a cell. He hears someone coming in. He thinks it's Kinn who has come to hear things out, but turns out it's Vegas, and he's telling Porsche to run away with him. Kinn, on the other hand, is in a meeting with his dad and Tanakun. Tanakun, the voice of reason, tells Kinn that Tavan has framed him. Kinn says he will clear things up with Porsche, But I guess it's too late because Vegas is already there to take Porsche away from Kinn. This is where the episode ends. This was another roller coaster ride of emotions. I don't think this is an episode I will rewatch like all the other ones, but I still appreciate how they are building up the story. And I know that after so much angst, the pool scene will come out even sweeter and bring even more excitement to the viewers. So now let's move to the spoilers for episode 10. Since in the last episode we saw there was no kidnapping of Che, they might include the kidnapping in the next episode or remove the kidnapping part altogether. The novel story doesn't make sense without the kidnapping part, so I don't know how they will come to know that Tavan is a total monster. So I've decided that in these spoilers I will focus on Vegas Pete's story and tell you everything about Tavan. Tavan kidnaps Che in order to warn Porsche to not ruin his relationship with Kinn. And he also wants to see when it comes to his two loves, Kinn and Che, who will he choose. Also, Tavan doesn't love Kinn. He has never loved Kinn. Tavan's family is bankrupt right now and he has no money left, so he wants to stay with Kinn in order to get money from him. Tavan is the one behind all the attacks on Porsche recently. The forest attack was also Tavan's doing. He wanted to kill Porsche to get him out of the way. That's why all the attacks and abductions were focused on Porsche. Tavan confesses all this to Porsche thinking that Kinn is not there to hear him. But Kinn hears everything and Tavan's truth finally comes out. Tavan also revealed that throughout this entire ordeal, Vegas was the one giving information to Tavan about Porsche's every move. As Kinn hears this, his blood boils and his anger knows no bounds. He starts hitting Vegas mindlessly. As the fight between Vegas and Kinn is going on, Pete reaches Vegas's house. Arm helps Pete by disabling the security cameras of the house. He directly goes to Vegas' office and starts looking through the documents. He couldn't find anything strange in the documents, but he notices that there is a computer on Vegas' desk. He goes to switch on the computer, but it's asking for a password. Pete meditates for a moment and an idea pops up in his head. He thinks that Vegas is such a slag that his password could be none other than 6969. He enters this password and surprisingly the computer unlocks. There is a folder named X in the computer. Pete opens it. There are some videos that pops up. Every single video is of Vegas having sex with Kinn's ex-partners including Tavan, Marsh and all the others. Pete records these videos on his phone and sends them to Kinn one by one. As he was doing this, there is a familiar voice that keeps asking for Vegas. Some bodyguard told him that Vegas is not in the house right now, but the sound came closer and closer. Pete rushes to hide inside the closet and he peeks through a creek. Turns out the familiar voice was of the main family's bodyguard, Big. As the bodyguards were trying to escort Big out of the house, a loud thud was heard and everything became quiet. Vegas was in the office. He ordered the other bodyguards to get out of the office. Big tells Vegas that soon the main family will find out that he was the one who leaked all the information and he's very scared for his life. Because if Kinn finds out that Big is the mole, he will definitely kill him. Vegas slaps Big hard until blood gushes out from his nose. Vegas asks Big who else has he been selling all the information to, because it's definitely not just to Vegas. Turns out Big is a money-hungry rat and he has been selling all the information to their competitors as well. Vegas asks Big if he was the one selling all the information about Porsche too. Big retorts asking if Vegas was in love with Porsche. Vegas slaps him hard again and Big confesses that he was the one selling information about Porsche to Tavan. Vegas tells Big that it's a mess he created and Vegas will not get involved. Big can go to hell. Pete was recording all this on his phone, but as he was about to send it, his phone ran out of battery and got switched off. As Pete was looking at his phone, the cupboard door slammed open and Vegas was standing there smiling at Pete. Porsche and Kinn looked at all the videos together. They are both admittedly shocked seeing that Vegas's obsession with Kinn knows no bounds. As they process this information together, Porsche understands that he had been wrong to not listen to Kinn about staying away from Vegas. They both make up after that, and hopefully we get the pool scene. I think this is where the episode will end. Episode 10 is going to be action-packed but in a good way. We will see the problem of Tavan being resolved, the pool scene, as well as the capturing of Pete by Vegas. I'm extremely excited for what's coming. Let me know your anticipations about the next video. As usual, give me a like and subscribe for more videos like this. Love you all. Bye.